Let's move now to the United Kingdom as the 10-day mourning period for Queen Elizabeth II continues. This afternoon there was a service of thanksgiving at St Giles Cathedral in Edinburgh in Scotland, and I'm joined now by our correspondent Olly Barratt, who is in Windsor this evening. Olly, thank you so much for joining us. So talk to us a little bit more about the Thanksgiving service and what's going to be happening in the next day or so.
Yes, the Queen's body today, Sally, moved from Holyrood House Palace the short distance across Edinburgh to St Giles's Cathedral, where there was that Thanksgiving service. The King Charles, walked behind the coffin in the hearse as it made that short, slow journey across town, half an hour or so's walk alongside his siblings, the Queen's other children. And then that Thanksgiving service, when it ended, means that now the Queen is lying in rest in St Giles's Cathedral, where she'll be for around 24 hours. And in that period, mourners are now able to file past and pay their respects to her coffin, which has the Crown of Scotland on top of it. The King, he's pretty busy with other stuff as well. He's been in the Scottish Parliament after the Thanksgiving service, and this is now part of his duties for the week, if you like, which is to fan out across the United Kingdom and visit all 4 nations of the UK. He's been paying tribute to the Scottish people inside the Scottish Parliament, and Scottish politicians have been welcoming him as King and paying tribute to his late mother.
So King Charles, there's an incident a little earlier, I think today, when some so-called superfan dashed in front of his Rolls Royce and nearly got run over. Tell us about that.
Yes, the man appeared to be trying to take photographs of the royal car moving through the streets of West London. It got stuck sort of in traffic behind some traffic lights, and that gave this man the opportunity to get close to Charles's vehicle, the royal vehicle, and it appeared to be taking photographs, snapping away at the new king. Clearly pretty dangerous given the moving traffic in the area, but also raises some security questions about whether it should be possible for onlookers to get so close to the royal motorcade, and raising questions about the police response of the officers that were there at the time, the outriders, and whether they should have done more. But in the end, it did appear to be a man risking his own life by taking some photographs on a very busy road.
Of course, we've seen thousands and thousands of people lining the streets when we've seen the cortege moving across the country. So it's not perhaps surprising that we've seen an incident like that. There was also an incident around Prince Andrew. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, there was one individual particularly when that hearse was moving through the streets of Edinburgh very slowly today, who was heckling Prince Andrew as he walked past. Now, he appeared then to be dragged away and briefly detained, we think, by police. Now, there have been some questions about whether the police have been too heavy-handed with some demonstrators, some anti-monarchy demonstrators at various places up and down the UK where there have been crowds gathered. For the most part, they've been very isolated, and the police have had to explain some of those incidents away. What we did for the most part see when the hearse was moving through Edinburgh was thousands, as you say, thousands and thousands of people wanting to watch it go past and pay their respects, and for the most part it was in complete silence, with some rounds of applause as the Queen's coffin went past. But there were some isolated incidents of things being shouted at Prince Andrew given his recent history.
Yeah. Talk to me about the kind of conversations that are being had in Britain. There's been an outpouring of grief, and the thing I've heard a lot is people saying, I didn't expect to be so upset. But we also know that in a modern democracy, there are lots of debates around whether a family that gets a title purely by their birth really should be in existence.
That's absolutely being explored. I think you would probably find Republicans telling you that actually they haven't been able to get into the national conversation too much over this period, but that's not to say it's not being discussed at all. And the Queen's death has led to a lot of discussion about the monarchy in general and how it works, why it works, if it works. Republicanism is a pretty niche view in the UK, according to most of the polling, and I'm not sure that that's changed as a result of the last week or so. It may even be that the pro-monarchist feeling has grown as a result of all of the outpouring of emotion that's come the way of the Queen and the rest of the family. And King Charles seems to be being welcomed pretty positively by most Brits at this point, but that conversation isn't going to go away anytime soon. One thing to remember is that this is a democracy, and if the British people at any point decided they wanted to get rid of the monarchy, they could do that. That would absolutely be within their power. It just hasn't got to the point yet that the British people have decided to make that move. And as I say, all of the polling recently has suggested the monarchy as an institution is very, very popular indeed, not just the individual of the Queen herself. But the conversations will, of course, continue in a democracy, and part of it will come down to what Charles is like as king. The British people will put up with the monarchy, I think, until they feel that they don't like it anymore, or they fall out with one particular individual, or over a period of years it's considered not to be positive for the country.
Thank you so much for that latest news. That is our correspondent Olly Barratt coming to us from Windsor this evening.